Ambassador Park Jin-woo walked through the gleaming corridors of Nexus Prime, its boots echoing against the polished metal floors. The space station was massive, bigger than most human cities. Floating in the void between galaxies, it served as the neutral meeting ground for the 12 most powerful species in known space. Today, those species had called an emergency meeting about what they whispered was the human problem. Jin-woo had been Earth's voice in the Galactic Council for 8 years. He'd seen humanity grow from curious newcomers to respected members of galactic society, or so he thought. The urgent summons he'd received 3 days ago suggested otherwise. The council chambers loomed ahead, a crystalline dome that stretched so high it seemed to touch the stars themselves. Inside, representatives from across the galaxy waited. Some floated in specialized atmosphere bubbles, others stood on platforms designed for their unique biology. The diversity was breathtaking. Even after all these years, Jin-woo straightened his formal diplomatic uniform one last time. The dark blue fabric bore the emblem of United Earth, a simple design showing their home planet surrounded by stars. It seemed so small compared to the elaborate symbols worn by the other species. As the massive doors slid open, conversation stopped. Hundreds of alien eyes turned toward the lone human entering their domain. Jin-woo felt the weight of their stares, but kept his expression calm. Behind him, his small delegation took their seats in the observer section. Dr. Lee Soyoung, Earth's chief scientist, caught his eye and nodded slightly. Captain Kim Tae-hyun, commander of the Human Defense Fleet, remained stone-faced as always. Chancellor. Velenith rose from her elevated platform at the chamber's center. The Zeltharian leader was an impressive sight, nearly 3 meters tall, with 6 graceful arms that moved like liquid silver. Her species had ruled vast sectors of space for over 1,000 years before humans even discovered fire. Representatives of the Galactic Council. Velenith's voice carried clearly through the chamber's translation system. We gather today to address a growing threat to galactic stability. The unchecked expansion of humanity has reached dangerous levels. Jaw tightened. Threat? Humanity had done nothing but contribute to galactic society since joining 50 years ago. Velenith gestured, and a massive holographic display materialized above the chamber. It showed their galaxy in stunning detail. Billions of stars, trade, routes, and territorial boundaries marked in different colors. Red dots scattered across the display showed human presence. In 5 decades, Velenith continued, humanity has established over 3,000 colonies. Their population has grown from 6 billion to nearly 30 billion. They consume resources at unprecedented rates and expand their territory without proper authorization. Admiral Vekvar of the Korthok Empire rose next. The insectoid warrior stood over 2 meters tall, his chitinous armor gleaming under the chamber's lights. 4 arms ended in razor-sharp claws that could cut through steel. His species had been the Council's military backbone for centuries. Human military capabilities grow stronger each year. Vekvar's voice buzzed through multiple throat chambers. They build warships under the guise of exploration vessels, establish armed outposts, they call research stations, trained soldiers they claim are colonist defenders. Jin-woo stood slowly. The chamber's attention focused on him like a laser beam. Honored representatives, if I may respond to these accusations, you may not. Velenith cut him off. This session is for council members to present evidence, not for the accused to make excuses. Accused. Jin-woo felt anger rising in his chest, but forced it down. Diplomatic training had taught him to stay calm under pressure. Commander Zilthara of the Ethereal Collective spoke next. Her species existed as sentient energy beings, visible only as shimmering clouds of light within containment fields. Human quantum experiments disrupt our meditation realms across 12 sectors. Their crude technology generates psychic interference that damages our young. Even the peaceful Aquatic Confederation raised concerns. Ambassador Gerthel Est translation unit bubbled as he spoke from his water-filled chamber. Human deep-sea mining. Operations on ocean worlds show no regard for indigenous life forms. They strip minerals without considering ecological impact. One by one, the council members presented their complaints. The humans were too aggressive, too numerous, too ambitious. They didn't respect ancient territorial agreements made before Earth's new aliens existed. They asked too many questions about restricted technologies. They formed alliances with species the council considered problematic. Ginwu listened in growing amazement. Every accusation twisted human achievements into threats. They're successful. Colonies became unauthorized expansion. Their defensive fleets became military buildup. Their scientific curiosity became dangerous experimentation. Finally, Chancellor Velenith called for order. The chamber fell silent as she prepared to deliver the council's judgment. After careful deliberation, she announced, "The Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding humanity's future in galactic civilization." Jinwu's heart sank. Unanimous meant even their few allies had voted against them. "Humanity will immediately submit to the following restrictions," Velenith continued. "Population growth will be limited to replacement levels only, no net increase. All technological development will be supervised by council observers. Expansion is permanently frozen at current boundaries. Any violation of these terms will result in complete expulsion from galactic society." The words hit Jinwu like physical blows. Population controls meant humanity could never grow beyond their current numbers. Technology supervision meant giving up the innovation that made them valuable partners. Frozen territory meant abandoning the dream of exploring the galaxy. "These terms are non-negotiable," Velenith added. "Humanity has 72 hours to accept or face total isolation from galactic civilization." Jinwu looked around the chamber at species humanity had considered friends. The Minari delegate, Rindle, looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. The others watched with expressions ranging from satisfaction to indifference. Only Ambassador Rindle seemed troubled by the proceedings. Her species had worked closely with humans on several scientific projects. But even she remained silent when the vote was called. Jinwu activated his personal communicator and spoke quietly in Korean to his delegation. The words meant, "Sir, they see us only as a threat, not as partners." He turned back to face the council, his mind racing. 50 years of cooperation, friendship, and shared achievement had led to this moment. Humanity was being offered a choice between slavery and exile. The decision was easier than it should have been. Captain Kim Taeyeon pressed his palm against the cold metal of the observation window, watching his life's work disappear piece by piece. The HSS Determination floated silently above New Sol Colony, humanity's crown jewel in the outer rim. What had once been a thriving world of 12 million people now looked like a construction site in reverse. Massive transport ships hovered over the city's centers like metal whales, their cargo bays swallowing entire buildings. The fusion reactors that had powered the colony for 3 decades were being carefully extracted by engineering teams and powered exoskeletons. Each reactor was worth more than most planets' entire economies, and the Council had made it clear. Humans could take nothing that officially belonged in Council space. "Sir, incoming transmission from Surface Team Alpha," Lieutenant Park Mejin announced from her station. Her voice carried the exhaustion they all felt after 6 months of constant evacuation operations. Kim turned from the window. "Put it through." "Actor?" Choi Kun-soo's face appeared on the main screen, his usually neat appearance disheveled from working 18-hour days. Behind him, robots carefully packed quantum laboratory equipment that had taken decades to develop. "Captain, we've finished securing the primary research data," Choi reported. "The quantum computers are being loaded onto Transport 7, but sir, ... we're having to leave behind years of collaborative work with alien scientists. The Council's legal team says joint research belongs to them." Kim's jaw tightened. "Protocols, Doctor. We take only what's purely human technology." "Sir." "But Captain ... some of these discoveries could have changed the galaxy. The cure for Andromedian plague, the new hyperspace navigation systems, the atmospheric processors that turn dead worlds into gardens. We're walking away from miracles. We're walking away with our dignity," Kim replied firmly. something we'd lose if we stayed. The transmission ended, leaving Kim alone with his thoughts. Through the ship's internal monitors, he could see human families throughout the vessel preparing for a journey into the unknown. Children who had never seen Earth clutched toys and asked endless questions about where they were going. Parents tried to sound confident while packing their entire lives into storage containers. On Deck 7, the Hong family was teaching their 5-year-old daughter about Earth using holographic displays. The girl stared wide-eyed at images of blue oceans and green forests, trying to understand a world she'd never experienced. "Will there be animals like in the stories, Mama?" little Hong Soo-jin asked. "Yes, sweetheart," her mother replied, though Kim could hear the uncertainty in her voice. They weren't going back to Earth. They were heading beyond the galactic rim into unexplored space. Down on the colony's surface, Dr. Lee So-young directed the extraction of atmospheric processors with military precision. These massive machines had transformed a new soul from a barren rock into a world with breathable air and fertile soil. Each processor represented decades of research and billions of credits and development costs. Veltar, a Zeltharian engineer who'd worked alongside humans for 15 years, approached her with obvious distress. His silver skin shimmered with patterns that indicated deep emotional conflict in his species. "Dr. Lee, surely you cannot remove the medical synthesizers," he said, his translator conveying his anxiety. "The Kethmoran colonies in this sector depend on those machines to produce medicine for their children. Without them, thousands will die." So-young paused in her work, genuine pain visible in her eyes. She'd helped design those synthesizers specifically to treat genetic diseases that affected multiple alien species. The machines could produce complex medicines that no other technology could replicate. "I'm sorry, Veltar," she said softly. 3 years ago, we offered to share the synthesizer technology freely with the Council Medical Board. We wanted every species to have access to these cures, remember, Veltar replied. The Council voted to reject the offer. They said human medical technology was too dangerous for widespread distribution. They worried we were trying to create dependency on human science. So-young gestured toward the massive machines being loaded onto transport vehicles. "Now they'll discover what real dependency looks like." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of worlds. Human traders who had spent decades building communication networks between isolated planets simply shut down their operations and departed. The hyperspace relay stations they'd built to connect distant civilizations went dark, one by one. Professor Seo Dongwook, whose breakthrough research in gravitational physics had revolutionized space travel, walked through his laboratory at the Nexus Science Institute for the last time. Alien graduate students who'd worked under him for years watched in confusion as he deleted files and packed personal research notes. "Professor, what about the Unified Field Theory Project?" asked Zilinara, an ethereal student who existed as a shimmering cloud of energy within a containment field. "We were so close to a breakthrough. The Council will have to finish it without me," Seo replied, his voice heavy with regret. "All my research notes are being transferred to the human archives. If the Council wants to continue the work, they'll need to develop the theoretical framework themselves." The young ethereal's energy patterns flickered with distress. "But Professor, it could take us decades to reach your level of understanding. You'd better start studying," Seo said, not unkindly. "The universe doesn't wait for anyone to catch up." On Consensus Prime, the administrative heart of the Galactic Council, bureaucrats watched their computer screens with growing alarm. Critical systems that had run smoothly for decades began experiencing failures. The Hyperspace Traffic Control Network, managed by human engineers for 30 years, suddenly went offline without warning. Emergency response networks that connected 40 sectors of Council space began failing in cascade patterns. Communication arrays that had linked isolated colonies to the galactic community simply stopped functioning. The humans who had designed and maintained these systems for half a century were nowhere to be found. Ambassador Rindle of the Minari delegation rushed through the corridors of the diplomatic quarter, hoping to catch Ambassador Ginwoo before his final departure. She found him in his empty office, carefully packing a small sculpture of Earth's moon into a protective case. "Ginwoo, please," she said breathlessly. "We need to talk about this." Not all of us supported the Council's decision. The Minari delegation abstained specifically because we believed humanity deserved better treatment. Jinwoo looked up from his packing, his expression sad but resolute. Rindle, you've been one of our truest friends in the Council. That friendship means more to us than you know. Then don't leave, she pleaded. Stay and fight this decision. There are other species who question the Council's judgment. We can build opposition? Force a new vote? To what end? Jinwoo asked gently. Even if we won, we'd always be looking over our shoulders, waiting for the next ultimatum. We can't build a future on the foundation of fear and suspicion the Council has created. Rindle's luminescent skin dimmed with sorrow. Her species communicated emotions through bioluminescent patterns, and right now she radiated pure grief. Where will you go? She whispered. Jinwoo sealed the case containing Earth's moon sculpture and stood. Somewhere we can build the future we dreamed of when we first reached for the stars. The galaxy is vast, Rindle. Council space is only a small part of it. Will we ever see each other again? The universe has a way of bringing friends together when the time is right, Jinwoo replied. Until then, take care of yourself. And remember us as we were partners, not threats. 3 months later, the last human vessel prepared to leave Council territory. Captain Hong Soon-min stood on the bridge of the HSS New Horizon, looking at the massive convoy of human ships stretching across space. Thousands of vessels carried the dreams and hopes of 30 billion people into an uncertain future. Sir, we're receiving final clearance from Council Traffic Control, his communications officer reported. Open a channel to all Council frequencies, Hong ordered. It's time to say goodbye. The transmission broadcast across 40 sectors of Council space, reaching every world, every station, every ship in the galactic community that humans had called home for nearly 50 years. To all species of the Galactic Council, Hong's voice carried clearly through the void. This is Captain Hong Sung-min of the Human Starfleet, transmitting humanity's final message from Council space. For 47 years we have shared discoveries, built friendships, and worked together toward a brighter future among the stars. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew, people who were leaving everything they'd ever known behind. We leave you now in peace, carrying with us the hope that someday the galaxy will remember us not as threats to be contained, but as friends who dared to dream of something greater. The stars are vast, and there is room among them for all who seek to explore their mysteries. Until our paths cross again, farewell. The transmission ended. One by one, the human ships engaged their hyperspace drives and vanished into the darkness between stars. For the first time in nearly half a century, Council space fell silent of human voices. In the government halls of Consensus Prime, Chancellor Velenith issued a statement declaring the exodus, victory for galactic stability, and the preservation of established order. But on the outer rim worlds that had depended on human medicine, human technology, and human ingenuity, the first signs of a coming crisis were already beginning to appear. Governor Yules walked through what used to be the most beautiful gardens in the Qin hegemony. 2 years ago, the crystal gardens of Cathara had been a wonder that attracted visitors from across the galaxy. Now, the once vibrant flowers were turning brown, in the artificial atmosphere that made this desert world livable was slowly dying. She stopped beside a fountain that had run dry 3 weeks earlier. The water recycling system, like everything else on this planet, depended on human technology that no one else truly understood. Her 6-armed frame trembled with frustration as she watched maintenance robots stand motionless around the broken machinery. Chief Engineer Meltek, explain this to me again, she said, her voice echoing the desperation that had become common among council leaders. The elderly Qin engineer approached nervously, his metal tools clanking against his utility belt. Governor, the atmospheric processors are failing faster than we anticipated. The quantum matrices that control the air composition are beyond our ability to repair. Yieltz gestured toward the massive towers that rose from the planet's surface like metal trees. These atmospheric processors had transformed Kethera from a lifeless desert into a world where billions could breathe freely. Now they were dying, one by one. "We operated these machines for 30 years, she said. "How can we not understand?" "Them. That's just it, Governor. We never truly operated them. We simply followed the procedures the humans taught us. Press this button when the green light flashes. Place this component when the alarm sounds." But the actual science behind, how they work, the humans never shared that. Maltech activated a holographic display showing the internal structure of an atmospheric processor. The image revealed incredibly complex quantum machinery that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Energy patterns flowed through crystalline structures in ways that made no sense, according to established council science. "Look at this," he pointed to the display. "These quantum matrices don't just process air, they create it from base elements. The humans somehow learned to manipulate matter at the subatomic level. Without replacement components from human factories, these machines will shut down completely within 4 months. The implications hit ULDs like a physical blow. Cathera housed 12 billion people. Without the atmospheric processors, they would all suffocate. Across the galaxy, similar crises were unfolding on hundreds of worlds. In the distant reaches of Council space, the ethereal collective faced their own technological disaster. Commander Zilthera floated within her energy containment field aboard the deep space exploration vessel Luminous Thought, staring at diagnostic reports that spelled doom for her species' expansion into the galaxy's outer regions. "The quantum drives are experiencing cascade failures," her chief engineer reported through psychic communication. "We've lost contact with 37 colony ships in the last month. The ethereals had reverse-engineered human quantum drive technology 5 years earlier, believing they understood the principles behind faster-than-light travel. Their ships could cross vast distances in minutes, allowing them to establish colonies in previously unreachable sectors of space. But they had copied the technology without understanding its foundation. Now their ships were vanishing into hyperspace and never returning. Each lost vessel carried thousands of ethereal colonists who had volunteered to explore the galaxy's mysteries. "Can we modify the drives using our own technology?" Zilthera asked. "We've tried everything. The humans incorporated theoretical physics that we still don't comprehend. Their understanding of quantum mechanics operates on principles that seem impossible according to our science." At the Nexus Medical Institute, Dr. Velinara faced a crisis that threatened entire star systems. The elegant Zeltharian scientist had taken over Dr. Lee So-young's research after the human exodus, confident that her species' advanced intellect could continue the work without human assistance. She was wrong. "The Andromedian plague is returning," her assistant announced, his silver skin flickering with stress patterns. 3 star systems are reporting new outbreaks. Without the human medical synthesizers, we have no way to produce the cure. Dr. Velinara studied the molecular structure of the medicine that had saved billions of lives. The protein synthesis process required precision beyond anything Council science could achieve. The humans had designed machines that could manipulate individual molecules with perfect accuracy. "We've been trying to reverse engineer the synthesis process for 18 months, she said, her voice heavy with defeat. "Every attempt has failed. The humans incorporated principles that we're only beginning to understand." She activated a holographic display showing the complex molecular chains that made up the plague cure. The structure was beautiful in its complexity. Thousands of atoms arranged in perfect harmony to combat a disease that had once threatened to wipe out entire civilizations. "It's not just the technology," her assistant added. "It's the entire theoretical framework. The humans approach biochemistry from a completely different angle than we do. They saw patterns that we missed. But the most terrifying reports came from the galaxy's outer rim, where something far worse than technological failures was emerging. From the darkness between stars, Admiral Vekfar stood in the command center of the Korthok battle station, crushing victory, studying sensor readings that defied explanation. His forearms moved rapidly across control surfaces as he analyzed data from patrol ships stationed along the galaxy's edge. "Report," he commanded his communications officer. "Yes, sir. Border Patrol 7 detected unknown vessels in the Void sector. The ships don't match any known design in our databases." The main display activated, showing grainy images captured by long-range sensors. The vessels appeared organic, like living creatures swimming through space. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them appear as moving shadows against the starfield. "How many ships?" Thekvar asked. "That's difficult to determine, sir. They seem to phase in and out of normal space. Our sensors can't get consistent readings." Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. The tactical display lit up with warning indicators as 3 patrol ships went silent simultaneously. "What happened to our ships?" Thekvar demanded. "Unknown, sir. They were investigating the alien vessels when their signals just ... stopped. No distress calls, no weapons fire detected. They simply vanished." Captain Kim Dae-soon of the Minari Defense Force was monitoring the same region from his patrol vessel. Peaceful current when the impossible happened. Through his ship's viewports, he watched a Korthok destroyer simply disappear. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Not destroyed, not damaged, just ... absent. "Captain," his sensor operator called out, "I'm detecting massive energy distortions where the Korthok ship was positioned. But sir ... It's not wreckage. It's like the ship was never there at all." Kim studied the sensor readings with growing dread. The energy patterns were unlike anything in Council records, operating on principles that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. "Send a priority transmission to Defense Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have a problem bigger than equipment." Failures. Deep in the classified archives of the Council's intelligence services, a young analyst named Fentar made a discovery that would change everything. While investigating the mysterious ship disappearances, he stumbled across old diplomatic files that had been buried for years. "Director, you need to see this," he called to his supervisor. It's a senior Zeltharian intelligence officer. The files contained communications from Ambassador Jin Woo's predecessor, dating back 5 years before the human exodus. Request after request for Council support in what the humans called defensive operations against extragalactic entities. The humans asked for military support to fight unknown threats from outside our galaxy, Fentar explained. The Council denied every request. "We classified their reports as paranoid and labeled them attempts to justify human military expansion." The intelligence director's 6 arms trembled as she read the files. "They were fighting a war we didn't know about. There's more," Fentar continued. "The energy signatures from these mysterious ship attacks. They match theoretical profiles the humans included in their defensive operation requests." The horrible truth became clear. For decades, humanity had been protecting Council space from threats beyond the galaxy's edge. They had fought battles in the void between stars, keeping cosmic predators at bay while the Council remained blissfully unaware of the danger. Now, with humanity gone, those ancient threats were returning. Emergency sessions were called across Council space. Intelligence services that had dismissed human warnings for decades now scrambled to understand the threat they faced. But when they tried to contact the human fleet for information about these mysterious attackers, they made a discovery that chilled every Council leader to their core. Humanity had vanished completely. No energy signatures, no communication signals, no trace of the massive fleet that had departed Council space 2 years earlier. 30 billion humans and their entire civilization had disappeared as if they had never existed. The galaxy suddenly felt very large and very empty. And in the darkness between stars, something ancient and hungry was stirring. Freed at last from the guardians who had held it at bay for so long, Captain Kim Dae-soon gripped the armrests of his command chair as the peaceful current shuddered through hyperspace. 3 years of searching had led to this moment, following a faint quantum signature that shouldn't exist according to everything the Council knew about space travel. His Minari crew worked silently at their stations, their bioluminescent skin patterns showing the stress they all felt. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," his navigator announced. "But sir, ... there's nothing on the star charts. This region is supposed to be empty void between galaxies." Kim stared at the main view screen, showing the swirling colors of hyperspace. Drop us back to normal space. See what's really out here. The ship emerged from hyperspace into what should have been empty darkness. Instead, Kim's jaw dropped at the sight before them. Massive structures floated in the cosmic void like artificial planets, their surfaces gleaming with lights that stretched beyond the horizon. Ring worlds larger than entire star systems spun slowly in perfect formation, generating their own gravity. Fields by the ancestors, Kim whispered. What are we looking at? His science officer, Lieutenant Nalvera, frantically worked her instruments. Captain, these structures are impossibly large. This ring world here has a diameter of 300 million kilometers. Could house the entire population of our galaxy with room to spare. Through the transparent sections of the nearest megastation, Kim could see movement ships and shuttles flowing between the structures like blood through veins. The vessels used designs he'd never seen before, incorporating technologies that seemed to bend space itself around their hulls. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy readings, his engineer reported. These structures are powered by something beyond our understanding. The energy output from that one station alone could supply power to half of Council space. But what shocked Kim most was the clear evidence of human construction, architectural style, the geometric patterns, even the way the lights were arranged. It all carried the distinctive aesthetic that humanity had developed during their years in Council space. They didn't just survive, Kim realized aloud. They built something incredible. Suddenly his communications officer straightened. Captain, we're being hailed. The transmission is... It's in Korean. The main view screen activated, and Kim found himself face to face with someone he thought he'd never see again. Admiral Park Jin-woo looked older, his hair showing gray at the temples. But his eyes held a confidence and authority that hadn't been there during his diplomatic days. Captain, Kim De-sung of the Minari vessel, Peaceful Current, Jin-woo said with formal precision. You are entering human territorial space. Please state your purpose and how you acquired our quantum signature frequencies. Kim felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. Admiral Park, it's good to see you alive. The Galactic Council has been searching for humanity for over a year. Our galaxy is under attack by entities we're calling Devourers. We desperately need your help. Jinwoo's expression remained carefully neutral. I'm aware of the situation in Council space. Your people have finally encountered the entities we've been fighting for over a century. A century? Kim couldn't hide his shock. But that's impossible. You've only been gone 3 years. Captain, this conversation requires security clearances you don't currently possess. Dock with Station Harmony, and we'll discuss the situation in a proper briefing room. As the Peaceful Current approached the human station, Kim got his first close look at humanity's transformation. The station was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and clearly built using technologies far beyond anything the Council possessed. Through the transparent aluminum sections, could see humans working alongside alien species he didn't recognize. The docking bay alone was larger than most space stations Kim had visited. Automated systems guided his ship to a berth with precision that spoke of incredibly advanced computer systems. As they landed, Kim noticed armed security personnel, humans wearing advanced combat armor that seemed to shimmer with energy fields. Dr. Lee So-young met them at the airlock, and Kim was struck by how much she'd changed. The scientist, who had once worked quietly in Council research labs, now carried herself with the confidence of someone who had seen wonders beyond imagination. Her simple lab coat had been replaced by a formal uniform-bearing insignia Kim didn't recognize. Captain Kim, she greeted him warmly. The Minari were always true friends to humanity. I'm sorry you have to see us under these circumstances. Dr. Lee, how is this possible? 3 years ago, you were evacuating colonies. Now you've built structures that dwarf anything in our galaxy. She led him through corridors that hummed with energy. The walls themselves seemed to glow with a soft light. Kim noticed that gravity remained constant despite the station's size. Clear evidence of artificial gravity technology far beyond Council capabilities. When we left Council space, we didn't retreat into hiding, So-young explained as they walked. We expanded beyond the galactic rim and made contact with other civilizations. Beings who had faced the Devourers before and survived. They entered a vast observation chamber with transparent walls that offered a stunning view of the megastructures floating in space. Kim watched in amazement as ships moved between the installations, some clearly human, others belonging to species with forms unlike anything in Council records. Captain So-young continued, "Meet the Intergalactic Defense Coalition. Humanity joined this alliance 2 years ago, bringing our technological capabilities and strategic thinking to a fight that's been going on for millennia." Through the viewing ports, Kim could see species that challenged everything he thought he knew about life in the universe. Crystalline beings that seemed to be made of living light floated alongside. Massive creatures that looked like spacefaring whales. Mechanical entities worked in perfect coordination with organic life forms, suggesting artificial intelligence that had achieved true consciousness. The entities attacking Council space, So-young said, are advanced scouts for a devourer hive mind that consumes entire galaxies. They move from galaxy to galaxy like a plague, stripping away all matter and energy before moving on to their next target. Admiral Jinwoo entered the chamber, and Kim was struck by how the man had changed. The diplomat who had once pleaded humanity's case before the Council now carried himself like a seasoned military commander. His uniform bore the insignia of what was clearly an interstellar fighting force. "We've been holding the Devourers back from this region of space for decades," Jinwoo explained. "Council territory served as our early warning system. We could monitor their scouts and prepare our defenses accordingly." Kim felt a chill of realization. "You were protecting us all. Along when the Council decided we were too dangerous to coexist with," Jinwoo replied, "we had to make a choice. Continue protecting a civilization that saw us as a threat, or join others who valued what we could contribute to the greater fight." As if summoned by their conversation, alert tones began sounding throughout the station. The chamber's displays activated, showing tactical information as hundreds of ships began moving into formation around the megastructures. "What's happening?" Kim asked, watching the massive fleet mobilization. Jinwoo studied the displays with professional detachment. Long-range sensors confirm that the Devourers are making their final assault on Council space. Based on their current advance rate, they'll have consumed everything from the galactic rim to the core within 72 hours. "Then you have to help us," Kim pleaded. "Billions of innocent lives are at stake." Jinwoo turned to face him, and Kim saw not hatred in the Admiral's eyes, but a profound sadness. "Captain, humanity is about to undertake the largest evacuation operation in galactic history. We're going to save everyone we can from your galaxy before implementing containment protocols." "Evacuation," Kim repeated. "The species who supported us during the Exodus, the Minari, the Peaceful Collective, the Independent Traders, and several others will be offered immediate sanctuary in Coalition space," Dr. So-young explained. "We won't abandon our friends. But what about the rest?" "We'll face the consequences of the Council's choices," Jinwoo said firmly. "We offered partnership 3 years ago. The Council chose fear and isolation instead." Kim watched through the viewing ports as the human fleet continued its preparations. The ships were unlike anything from the Exodus sleek vessels that seemed to bend space around them, incorporating the same impossible physics used by the Devourers themselves. "You're abandoning an entire galaxy," Kim whispered. "The Council abandoned us first," Jinwoo replied. "Now they'll discover what abandonment truly means." Deep beneath Consensus Prime, in a bunker that had been built to withstand the destruction of entire star systems, Chancellor Veleneth stared at the tactical display with hollow eyes. The chamber around her shook as Devourer entities tore through the planet's outer defenses like tissue paper. Each impact sent tremors through the reinforced walls, reminding everyone present that death was coming for them all. The holographic map of the galaxy painted a picture of absolute devastation. 3/4 of Council space glowed angry red, marking territories that had been completely consumed by the Devourers. The blue sectors representing free space were shrinking by the hour, entire star systems winking out of existence as the ancient predators fed. "Report from the Korthok front," Admiral Vekvar said, his once proud voice reduced to a broken whisper. The mighty insectoid warrior who had commanded respect across the galaxy now looked like a shell of his former self. His chitinous armor was cracked from stress, and his forearms trembled as he accessed the communication console. "The Korthok homeworld has gone silent, Chancellor," he reported. 17 billion lives, gone in less than 6 hours. The entire Korthok military fleet, over 10,000 warships, couldn't even slow them down. They just ... consumed everything.
Similar?
Reports poured in from across what remained of Council space. The ethereal collective had retreated to their deepest meditation chambers in distant nebulae, but even those ancient sanctuaries couldn't hide them from the Devourer's hunger. Graceful energy beings who had once floated through space like living stars were being hunted down one by one. "The Aquatic Confederation's ocean worlds have been drained," another representative reported. "The Devourers didn't just consume the life forms, they took the water itself. Entire planets are now empty shells floating in space." Chancellor Veleneth activated the command console with shaking hands. Her once elegant silver skin had turned dull with exhaustion and fear. 3 weeks without sleep had taken their toll on the Zeltharian leader who had once believed she could guide the galaxy to a peaceful future. "What's the status of Operation Starfinder?" she asked, though she already feared the answer. "Captain?" Zulivera stepped forward from the group of military officers clustered around the tactical displays. The Korthok captain's armor showed blast damage from her recent escape from the Outer Rim territories. "Chancellor, we've made contact with humanity," she announced. A collective gasp echoed through the bunker. For months, the Council's most advanced ships had searched desperately for any trace of the human fleet. Hope flickered in alien eyes that had seen nothing but death and destruction for weeks. "Where are they?" Veleneth demanded. "Can they help us fight the Devourers?" Zuvera's mandibles clicked nervously. "They've established a massive civilization beyond the galactic rim. Their technology has advanced far beyond anything we currently possess. Their ships, their stations, their weapons, everything is centuries ahead of our capabilities, and they can save us," someone said hopefully. "They've refused to provide military assistance," Zulivera continued, crushing that hope instantly. Former Ambassador Park Jinwoo, now Admiral Park, made it clear that humanity no longer considers the Council's fate to be their concern. Before anyone could respond to this devastating news, new alarms began blaring throughout the bunker. The tactical display updated to show massive formations appearing at the galaxy's edge, not Devourer ships, but human vessels. Hundreds of them, each one larger and more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. "Are they coming to help us?" someone asked desperately. The answer came from Captain Kim Dae-sung of the Minari, whose ship was monitoring the situation. From a safe distance, his transmission crackled with interference as Devourer entities disrupted communications across the galaxy. "They're not coming to help." Kim's voice carried the weight of absolute finality. "They're implementing what they call Devourer Protocol. They're sealing off our entire galaxy to prevent the entities from spreading to other regions of space." The implications hit the bunker like a physical blow. Chancellor Veleneth felt her legs give out as she collapsed into her command chair. The humans weren't coming to rescue them. They were quarantining the entire galaxy like a plague zone. "Open a direct channel to Admiral Park," Veleneth commanded. "I need to speak with him, personally." The main view screen activated, showing Admiral Ginwoo aboard what appeared to be a command vessel larger than most space stations. Behind him, humans and alien species worked together at control stations that seemed to bend light around them. The technology on display made Council science look like primitive tools. Chancellor Veleneth Jinwoo acknowledged with formal politeness. "I understand you requested this communication." "Admiral Park Jinwoo, please," Veleneth began, her voice cracking with desperation. "The Council needs humanity's help. We're facing complete extinction. I'm personally asking you to reconsider." Ginwoo's expression remained completely neutral. "The Council had 47 years to request humanity's assistance against the Devourers, Chancellor. Instead, you classified our warnings as paranoia and voted unanimously to expel us from galactic civilization." "We made a terrible mistake," Veleneth pleaded. "We were wrong about humanity. Please, don't let billions of innocent people die because of our poor judgment." Billions are already dying, Jinwoo replied without emotion. The Devourers have consumed the Korthok Empire, the Zeltharian Dominion's outer colonies, and are advancing on the galactic core. Our projections indicate they'll reach Consensus Prime within 72 hours, then help us fight them. Jinwoo leaned forward slightly, and for the first time, Veleneth saw something other than neutrality in his eyes, a deep, burning anger that had been carefully controlled for years. "Let me share something with you, Chancellor," he said quietly. "For over a century, humanity fought the Devourers in secret. We developed specialized weapons, defensive strategies, and formed alliances with other galactic civilizations who had survived similar attacks." He gestured to someone off-screen, and the display showed archived communications, dozens of official requests from human ambassadors spanning decades, all marked with Council rejection stamps. Every time we requested support for defensive operations against extragalactic threats, you refused. When we asked for permission to establish monitoring stations in the void sectors where Devourer scouts first appeared, you denied access? When we tried to share our weapons research specifically designed to fight these entities, you called it aggressive militarization. Veleneth watched the damning evidence of the Council's systematic rejection of human warnings. Document after document showed her predecessors dismissing human concerns as paranoid fantasies. "You didn't just refuse to help us protect the galaxy," Jinwoo continued, his voice growing colder. "You actively prevented us from doing so effectively. Those monitoring stations the Devourers destroyed first, those were inferior replacements. We had to build in suboptimal locations after you denied us access to the positions we actually needed." "We didn't understand the threat," Veleneth protested weakly. "You didn't trust us," Jinwoo corrected sharply. "And now you're asking us to sacrifice human lives to save the civilization that declared us too dangerous to exist alongside." Through the bunker's reinforced windows, Veleneth could see massive human ships creating some kind of energy barrier around the galaxy's perimeter. The scale of the operation was staggering, technology that made the Council's greatest achievements look like children's toys. "What about the innocent people?" she asked desperately. "The children, the civilians, who had nothing to do with the Council's decisions." Dr. Lee So-young's voice came from off-screen, and Veleneth recognized the scientist who had once worked in Council laboratories. "We're conducting the largest evacuation operation in galactic history, Chancellor. Every species that supported humanity during the exile, every individual who spoke against our expulsion, every family that requests sanctuary, they'll be brought to safety in Coalition space." "But what about the rest of us? We'll face the consequences of the choices your Council made," Jinwoo said with finality. "The Intergalactic Defense Coalition has established protocols for Devourer infestations. Once they've fully established themselves in a galaxy, the only solution is complete quarantine until the threat consumes all available resources and enters dormancy." The terrible truth hit Veleneth like a physical blow. "You're going to let them consume everything in our galaxy." "We're going to prevent them from spreading to 47 other galaxies," Jinwoo corrected. "The barrier we're constructing will contain them here until they exhaust all matter and energy, then enter their hibernation phase. Based on our data from other affected galaxies, this process typically takes several thousand years." Veleneth repeated numbly. "The Coalition has been fighting Devourers for millennia, Chancellor. We've learned theirs. No quick victory, no miracle weapon, no last-minute salvation. There's only containment, patience, and the will to protect those who can still be saved." The communication channel began breaking up as Devourer entities approached Consensus Prime's orbital defenses. Through the static, Veleneth could see the human fleet completing their barrier and beginning to withdraw to a safe distance. "The human fleet is beautiful," she said suddenly, watching the ships through the bunker's blast-resistant windows, "like nothing we ever imagined you could build." "We learned from species who had survived Devourer attacks," Jinwoo replied. "Technologies developed across multiple galaxies, refined through generations of warfare we tried to spare your people from experiencing. If we had trusted you, ... If you had trusted us, this galaxy would have been prepared," Jinwoo said sadly. "Early warning networks, specialized weapons, coordinated defenses, we could have held them off for generations, while developing permanent solutions. The lights flickered as the planet's shields absorbed another massive impact. The end was coming. Quickly now, Jinwu Velenith said, using his personal name for the first time in their long acquaintance. I want you to know that the Zeltharian archives will record the truth. Humanity offered friendship, and we chose fear. If any of our people survive in your coalition space, please tell them what we could have been together. I will, Chancellor. Ginwu promised. The transmission ended just as Consensus Prime's final defenses collapsed. Outside the bunker, the capital world of galactic civilization began its death. Thros's entities from beyond the stars claimed their prize. At the galaxy's edge, the human fleet completed their containment barrier and withdrew to safety. The last transmission from Council Space came from a Minari evacuation ship that had accepted humanity's offer of sanctuary, to the memory of the Galactic Council. And to the future of the human-led coalition, may we never again mistake wisdom for weakness or friendship for threat. The galaxy disappeared behind an impenetrable wall of human construction. Inside, the Devourers began their ancient feast, consuming a civilization that had rejected the only species capable of saving them. In coalition space, humanity and their new allies began the work of integrating refugees and building a future that honored both the lessons learned and the terrible prices paid. The stars themselves would remember that when the ultimate darkness came calling, it was fear rather than the enemy that destroyed the greatest civilization their galaxy had ever known. The end.